But with growth and expansion came the need to cover the costs of running a multi-million-dollar empire. New TV series were necessary to keep the factory going. Pay for those studios, pay the overhead, pay the staff. Lucy and Desi couldn't rely just on the success of I Love Lucy. And quite honestly, the daily grind of a weekly show was wearing on both Lucy and Desi as well. The TV business is not easy. Finding concepts that connect with audiences, even in the late 1950s, was often a challenge. As an upstart independent studio, without the steady and massively popular film industry to rely upon, film business, Desilu had to be more nimble, more creative, more innovative, and fearless. And it was that creativity, that independent spirit, and that willingness to take some risks that set the tone for Desilu and led to some amazing television work, much of which most people don't even know about. For instance, there was a TV pilot written and directed by Orson Welles, produced by Desilu, which won a Peabody Award. It did not lead to a TV series. It was called The Fountain of Youth, and it was one of Orson's only television work. There was a TV program written by Rod Serling, which was the precursor to the legendary Twilight Zone, hosted by Desi, and that led to CBS picking up the Twilight Zone as a series. And of course there was the Untouchables. And in later years, when Lucy became the first female head of a major production studio, Desilu produced Mission Impossible, Mannix, and Star Trek. But back in 1958, Desilu desperately needed a hit. It announced a new anthology series for CBS entitled The Westinghouse Desilu Playhouse. Sponsored by Westinghouse for a then record-breaking $12 million, Desilu would bring dramas, westerns, action-adventures, and comedy programs to TV audiences each week, featuring talented writers, directors, and actors, many who have never been on television before. And each episode was hosted by Desi. And thus, The Untouchables on television was born as a two-part Westinghouse Desilu Playhouse production, debuting in April 1959 on CBS, with its gritty and realistic portrayal of Eliot, Ness, and the Untouchables. And in those two episodes, Al Capone, television would never be the same again. Here's just a real quick, just to take you back to Desi introducing that two-part special. Here's Desi Arnaz as host.
Presents the Westinghouse Desilu Playhouse. Tonight's show, The Untouchables, starring Robert Stack, co-starring Keenan Wynn, Barbara Nichols, and Pat Crowley, with special guest star Neville Brand.
You have just seen some of the stars of The Untouchables. The true story taken from the exciting autobiography of Eliot Ness, the man who probably did most to help destroy the Al Capone empire. To tell you of this era, here is the man who lived it and who reported these events, Mr. Walter Winchell.
It is always a privilege to tell a story such as this one. You could say a good deal about Eliot Ness and the part he played in the lawless era. Fortunately, there is no need to. Mr. Ness's story speaks eloquently for itself.
Led to the series, and on October 15th, 1959, 8 years to the day that I Love Lucy premiered, the Untouchables TV series would premiere on ABC, not on CBS, where that pilot ran. This would become the first blockbuster hit series for Desilu since I Love Lucy. So imagine it's a Thursday night in October 1959, it's 9:30 p.m., you turn on the television in your living room, and this comes on the screen.
Hey, boys! Surprise! The premiere of The Untouchables, a Desilu production. Tonight's episode, The Empty Chair, starring Robert Stack, co-starring Barbara Nichols and Bruce Gordon, with special guest star Nehemiah Herzog.
Well, it was violent, it was gritty, it was real, it could be tough to watch. But watch it, people did. Viewers loved it. They loved Robert Stack as Eliot Ness. It won 2 Emmy Awards. It was nominated for 4 more. Walter Winchell's unmistakable staccato voiceover narration, and incredible guest stars, including Robert Redford, Robert Duvall, James Caan, Barbara Stanwyck, Ed Asner, Cloris Leachman, Cliff Robertson, Jack Klugman, Ricardo Montalban. But forging new ground in television also meant dealing with new challenges. There were concerns over the violence by public officials and citizen groups, concerns over depictions of Italian Americans. Tobacco company Liggett & Myers dropped its sponsorship at one point. The Capone family sued Desilu and didn't win. There was an FBI file on the series and concern by J. Edgar Hoover himself. Rumors of Frank Sinatra being upset, stories of mob hits on Desi. There was a lot for Desilu and Lucy and Desi to navigate while keeping that show on the air. My guess is that Desi would be the first to cringe if I were to compare him to the great Eliot Ness, but they do share some important traits. Risk-takers, disruptors, innovators, natural-born leaders with the courage to take on the status quo, both dealing with enormous pressures and challenges in their most productive years that led perhaps to quieter and tougher times in their later years, both appreciated by the world in a much bigger way after they were gone. And Lucy, what is there to say about Lucille Ball that hasn't been said 1,000 times? An immense talent, a genius in front of the camera, truly the chaplain of television, and the head of a major studio with incredible creative instincts for what works on television and what will stand the test of time. We're proud to celebrate both of these legacies here in Jamestown every day, and pleased that those legacies intersected with the great Eliot Ness and his tremendous legacy in countersport as well. But that's what I got. Thank you very much.